My name is Emily Hartwell. I'm 29 years old. And if someone had told me a year ago that my relationship would end because of a steakhouse, I would have laughed in their face. I had been with my boyfriend, Daniel Carter, 27, for 3 years. For most of that time, we were happy. We argued about normal things like movies, vacation plans, and whose turn it was to do laundry. Nothing serious. Everything changed after he attended a wellness retreat last summer with Olivia Grant, an influencer friend, who also happened to be close with Vanessa Reed, Daniel's ex-girlfriend. Daniel came home looking different. At first I thought maybe the retreat had simply helped him relax. I was wrong. The first morning after he returned, I walked into the kitchen and nearly dropped my coffee. $400 worth of groceries sat inside garbage bags. Steaks, eggs, cheese, yogurt, even my coffee creamer. What happened? I asked. Daniel smiled like he had accomplished something noble. We're vegan now. Not I'm vegan. Not I'd like to try this. We're vegan. I actually laughed because I thought he was joking. He wasn't. Daniel, if this is something you want for yourself, that's fine. But you can't decide what I eat. His expression changed immediately. Emily, couples are supposed to evolve together. I support you evolving. I said carefully. I just don't want someone deciding for me. He crossed his arms. If you loved me, you'd support my journey. That sentence became his favorite weapon. For 3 months, I tried compromising. At home, I ate vegan meals with him. Outside the house, I'd occasionally order whatever I wanted. Apparently that wasn't enough. He would sniff me dramatically. Did you eat meat again? Sometimes he'd cry. Sometimes he'd lecture me for an hour. Sometimes he'd accuse me of destroying my body. It stopped feeling like a relationship and started feeling like a courtroom. Meanwhile, there was something Daniel didn't know. For 2 years, I had been quietly saving money. $85,000. Every bonus, every extra shift, every sacrifice, because I had a dream. Opening my own restaurant. Not just any restaurant. A steakhouse. The lease had already been signed. Renovations had already started. My chef had already been hired. The name had already been chosen. The Bear's Den. Daniel's nickname for me was Bear. Originally, the name had been romantic. Laughter. It became ironic. I planned to surprise him once everything was ready. Then, November 15th arrived. Daniel sat me down at the dining room table, with a laptop and a PowerPoint presentation. I wish I were kidding. The title read, Our Ethical Future Together. I stared at him. He clicked through slides discussing health benefits, spirituality, environmental impact, and relationship alignment. Then he reached slide 23. Emily must commit to full veganism by November 30th or this relationship ends. I looked at him in silence. You're giving me 2 weeks. It's not an ultimatum, he said calmly. It's boundaries. I remember feeling strangely peaceful. Not angry, not hurt, just tired. Because at that moment, I realized something. Daniel no longer wanted a partner. He wanted a project, and I was done being remodeled. He smiled confidently. He expected me to panic. Instead, I smiled back. You know what I said softly? You're right. His entire face lit up. Really? Let's start tomorrow. He practically jumped out of his chair. He hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. I knew you'd understand. I hugged him back, and while he celebrated, I quietly picked up my phone and texted my contractor. Move the opening timeline forward. Because if Daniel wanted authenticity, I was finally going to give him the truth. After our conversation, Daniel transformed into the happiest man alive. He ordered matching, Powered by Plants shirts for us. He enrolled us in vegan cooking classes. He proudly told everyone that I had finally seen the light. According to him, we were now spiritually aligned. I smiled. I nodded. I played the role perfectly. Meanwhile, my real life was happening somewhere else. At the Bear's Den. Construction crews worked overtime. My chef, Marcus Bennett. I thought the entire situation was comedy gold. Every time I updated him on Daniel's newest lecture about ethical living, Marcus nearly choked laughing. "So let me get this straight," he said one afternoon, while reviewing suppliers. "He's teaching you compassion while you're opening a steakhouse. Pretty much, you can't make this stuff up." We finalized wine pairings. We sourced the best beef in the state. We tested menu items. And every day I came home pretending to discuss tofu recipes. Daniel never suspected anything. Whenever he asked why I was staying late at work, I simply said there was a major project going on. He accepted the explanation without question. Honestly, that hurt more than I expected, because if he had really been paying attention to me, he would have noticed something. He would have seen how excited I was, how nervous I was, how exhausted I was. Instead, everything revolved around his mission. 2 weeks before opening, I launched our marketing campaign, social media ads, local food bloggers, professional photography. The slogan, "The Bear's Den, where carnivores come home." Daniel's best friend, Rebecca Lawson, spotted the ads first. She immediately called him. "Oh my God. Daniel, a new steakhouse is opening on your birthday. And it's called the Bear's Den." "That's Emily's nickname." Daniel laughed. "We're vegan now. One dinner won't kill you." Rebecca argued, "But there's a new plant-based restaurant." "Too late. I already made reservations. 8 people. 5 o'clock. January 28th. Daniel's birthday." I almost laughed when I heard about it. Because fate couldn't have planned things better. The morning of the opening, Daniel assumed I was preparing some elaborate vegan surprise for him. In a way, I was. I kissed his cheek before leaving. "I have to take care of something for your surprise." He smiled. "I can't wait." Neither could I. By 4:30 that afternoon, the Bear's Den looked perfect. The dining room glowed under warm lighting. The kitchen staff stood ready. The photographer prepared for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. My stomach was doing backflips. Not because I feared failure, because this was everything I'd worked toward for years. At 4:45. Rebecca texted me, 15 minutes away. He has no clue. At 5:00. I looked through the front window and saw Daniel climbing out of Rebecca's car. At first he looked mildly annoyed. Then he saw the sign, "The Bear's Den. Grand opening." He froze. Then his eyes drifted downward. A smaller plaque sat beneath the sign. Owner, Emily Hartwell. I'll never forget his face. Confusion, recognition, disbelief, and finally, pure rage. The front door flew open. What the hell is this? I had just finished cutting the ribbon. Everyone turned toward him. I smiled. Surprise. "Emily. What is this?" "My restaurant." He stared at me, as if I'd betrayed him. "You opened a steakhouse. The best steakhouse in town. Hopefully." His voice rose. "After everything we've talked about." I looked at him calmly. "Remember when you said we should live according to our values?" His friends exchanged nervous looks. Daniel blinked. "What?" "I took your advice." I stepped closer. "I decided to be honest about who I am." He looked completely speechless. Then he whispered, "We're vegan." I shook my head. "No. Daniel. You're vegan. You decided that for both of us." Across the room, Rebecca quietly opened the menu. "I'll take the tomahawk special," she announced. Half the table burst out laughing. The other half started ordering appetizers. Daniel looked horrified. "How could you do this on my birthday?" I almost answered with anger. But suddenly, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. "This restaurant has been in development for 8 months," I said softly. "Long before your retreat." His eyes widened. "You lied to me." "No. I just stopped arguing." That sentence hit him harder than any scream ever could. He stood there, shaking. Then he grabbed his coat and stormed out. Our relationship ended before dessert was served. The strange part, I barely felt sad, because watching him leave felt less like losing someone, and more like finally putting down something heavy I'd been carrying for months. What I didn't know was that this birthday disaster was only the beginning. Within 24 hours, Daniel declared war, and the internet was about to witness the meltdown of the century. I thought the birthday incident would eventually blow over. I was wrong. Less than 2 days later, Daniel uploaded a dramatic video to social media. According to him, I was a manipulative narcissist who had opened a murder restaurant specifically to humiliate him. The video exploded. Not in the way he expected. The top comment read, "Wait. She owned an entire restaurant and you didn't know. Were you even paying attention to your girlfriend?" Thousands of people agreed. Daniel tried posting follow-up videos. Unfortunately for him, internet detectives quickly found old clips where he proudly bragged about converting his carnivore girlfriend. Suddenly, people started asking uncomfortable questions. Hadn't he been the one trying to control me? The comments became brutal. I stayed quiet. I didn't respond publicly. I was too busy running a restaurant, and business was incredible. By the end of our first week, every table was booked. Then something unexpected happened. Olivia Grant, the influencer who inspired Daniel's transformation, walked into my restaurant. I nearly dropped my clipboard. She sat down and ordered our signature ribeye, not salad, not tofu, a steak. I walked over. "I thought you were vegan." Olivia looked embarrassed. "Actually, I never was." "What?" she sighed. "The retreat was sponsored." I stared at her. "Sponsored?" She explained everything. The wellness company had paid several influencers to promote plant-based products for 6 months. $5,000. That was the price tag attached to the movement that destroyed my relationship. Daniel had reorganized his entire life because of a marketing campaign. Olivia shrugged. I never expected him to take it this seriously. Unfortunately, Daniel discovered the truth shortly afterward. At 2 in the morning, my phone rang. Danielle, crying, screaming, accusing. "You knew she was fake." I didn't know anything. "This is your fault." He sat up in bed. "My fault? If you'd just gone vegan with me, none of this would have happened." I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Daniel, she lied to you." He ignored that. To him, somehow I was still responsible. The next morning his mother, Diane Carter, called me. Apparently Daniel had spent the night crying to her. "Emily, this restaurant is hurting Daniel's mental health." I nearly dropped my coffee. "Excuse me, maybe you should consider selling it." I honestly thought she was joking. "Diane, your son gave me an ultimatum. He's sensitive. He threw away my groceries. He was trying to help you." I closed my eyes. No. He was trying to control me. She threatened to leave bad reviews. I calmly informed her that fake reviews carried consequences. That ended the conversation. Ironically, several of Daniel's own friends started visiting regularly. Rebecca brought dates. Old college friends appeared. One evening, Rebecca leaned against the bar and said something that stunned me. "You know, everyone has been waiting for someone to tell Daniel no." "Right. What?" She nodded. "In college, he forced his roommates onto weird diets. Seriously. He convinced an ex-girlfriend to quit performing music because he thought clubs promoted cheating." Apparently, I wasn't the first person Daniel had tried to redesign. I had simply been the first person who refused. Then came the protest. Daniel organized an online campaign against my evil carnivore empire. 7 people showed up. 3 entered the restaurant out of curiosity. By the end of lunch, they ordered desserts. The other 4 stood outside in the rain. Daniel wasn't even there. He coordinated everything from home because being physically present was apparently too stressful. My staff laughed about it for weeks. But things became even stranger. One afternoon, my server Jerome rushed over. "Boss, your ex is here with camera people." I walked outside. There stood Daniel holding his phone, while 2 friends filmed. "I'm conducting an investigation into health violations," he announced dramatically. "Daniel, leave. The public deserves the truth. You're trespassing." He pointed the camera toward me. See, she's trying to silence me. Then I noticed something hilarious. One of his camera operators was eating complimentary bread with butter. I blinked. You're eating dairy while filming a vegan protest. The poor guy looked horrified. It's really good bread. Daniel exploded. He started screaming at his own cameraman, calling him weak, calling him a traitor. The guy simply grabbed another piece of bread and walked away. His friend followed. Within 30 seconds, Daniel was conducting his investigation alone. An older customer named Frank stood up from his anniversary dinner. Young man, he said loudly, my wife and I are trying to enjoy our steak. Please take your tantrum elsewhere. The entire restaurant applauded. Daniel burst into tears and ran outside. I thought that would finally be the end. Then my phone exploded the next morning. 73 missed calls. From my mother. Apparently Daniel had convinced her that I was having a psychological breakdown and that the restaurant represented unresolved trauma. I simply sent my mother a screenshot of our weekly revenue. Her response arrived immediately. Never mind. You're doing great, sweetheart. Business kept growing. Daniel's life kept collapsing. And, soon, even his own family would reveal a secret that would change everything I thought I knew about him. A few weeks after the protest disaster, Olivia Grant finally posted an apology video. It went viral overnight. She admitted that she had never truly been vegan, and that the entire wellness movement had been driven by sponsorship deals. The supplement company immediately dropped her. But Olivia didn't stop there. She blamed Daniel. According to her, he had become so obsessive and emotionally intense that everyone around him felt pressured to keep pretending. Daniel completely lost control. He uploaded a 40-minute response video. He cried. He screamed. He held printed screenshots in front of the camera like a detective solving a crime. The internet was ruthless. Memes appeared everywhere. Reaction videos followed. People stopped taking him seriously. Then, somehow, things became even stranger. Daniel announced that he had evolved beyond veganism. He claimed he was beginning a spiritual journey that required no food at all. Apparently, he had discovered some online group that believed sunlight and positive energy were enough to sustain the body. He lasted less than a day. His roommate, Megan Phillips, later told me she found him unconscious in the kitchen, with his hand inside a box of sugary cereal. When he woke up, he announced that the universe had released him from dietary restrictions. Translation: he gave up. A few days later, Jerome approached me during lunch. Someone's asking for you at table 12. I walked over and nearly laughed. Daniel's father, Robert Carter, sat there with a giant smile. He ordered the largest steak on the menu. Then he looked straight at me. Emily, I've waited 3 years for this breakup. I blinked. What? He lowered his voice. Every time Daniel visited, the whole family had to pretend. His mother, his younger sister, even his grandmother. Everyone secretly ate meat whenever Daniel wasn't around. Robert raised his glass. Thank you for finally saying no. After that, he became one of our regular customers. Every Thursday, without fail. Soon he started bringing poker friends, then co-workers. Eventually, he had his own reserved table. Meanwhile, karma continued doing its work. The vegan restaurant Daniel had promoted for months was shut down temporarily after health inspectors discovered multiple violations. Daniel ended up getting food poisoning from one of their meals. While he was recovering, people flooded his social media with sarcastic comments. I honestly felt bad for him. Not because I wanted him back, but because I remembered the man I had once loved. Underneath all the drama, he had become lost. Months passed. The Bear's Den received a glowing review from the biggest food critic in the state. 4.5 stars. Reservations exploded. We hired additional staff. I even started considering a second location. Then, one evening, just before closing, Daniel walked into the restaurant alone. No cameras, no drama, no social media live stream. He sat quietly at the bar. When I approached, he immediately spoke. I'm not here to fight. For the first time in months, he looked exhausted. Not angry, not self-righteous, just tired. I'm in therapy, he said softly. Real therapy. I stayed silent. I don't expect forgiveness, he continued. But I needed to tell you that I was controlling. I kept trying to turn people into versions that made me comfortable. And I hurt you. There was genuine regret in his eyes. And, strangely enough, I believed him. The restaurant is beautiful, he added. I should have noticed how important this dream was to you. I thanked him. He ordered nothing. Only water. Before leaving, he placed $100 bill on the counter. For the trouble I caused. Then he quietly walked away. I thought that was the end. The next morning, I discovered he had posted a picture from his visit. This time there was no blame, no accusation, no drama, just an honest message about therapy, accountability, and learning to respect other people's choices. To my surprise, his followers started visiting the restaurant. Many asked for vegan options. Luckily, we already had excellent salads and mushroom pasta. Business doubled again. Life has a funny sense of humor. Around that same time, I met someone unexpected. His name was Ethan Brooks, 32 years old, a financial consultant who had originally come to the restaurant with Rebecca and some mutual friends. Unlike my previous relationship, Ethan never tried to change me. He listened, he laughed easily, and on our third date, he admitted something embarrassing. I only came to the Bear's Den because Rebecca wouldn't stop talking about your steaks. I laughed so hard, I nearly spilled my wine. We've been together for several months now, and for the first time, in a very long time, love feels peaceful. As for Daniel, the last thing I heard was that he was dating a woman named Charlotte, who owned a barbecue food truck. Apparently she taught him how to smoke ribs. Honestly, I couldn't stop laughing when Rebecca told me the universe truly has a sense of humor. Today, the Bear's Den remains fully booked most weekends. Robert still visits every Thursday. My mother proudly tells everyone her daughter owns the best steakhouse in the city. And Daniel occasionally likes my Instagram posts from his real account now. No fake profiles. No drama. Just two people who finally learned they were never supposed to change each other. Because in the end, this story was never about veganism. It was about control. And I learned something important. Love should inspire growth. But the moment someone gives you an ultimatum that demands you become someone else, they're no longer loving you. They're trying to replace you.